When we talk about breakups, we often talk about things like mending a broken heart or practicing healthy boundaries with an ex. We talk less about sexuality post-breakup. So in this video, I'm going to talk about erotic reclamation, taking back your relationship to your sexual self in the wake of a relationship ending. I'm Dr. Alexandra Solomon. I'm a couples therapist, an author, and a professor, and I'm passionate about helping people have the tools and perspectives they need to create happy and healthy, intimate relationships. So what we know is true is that a breakup is a time of deep pain. It's also a time of possibility. And where I want us to start is with this awareness that your former partner did not take your sexuality with them out of the relationship. Your sexuality is yours. It existed prior to the intimate relationship, and it exists after the end of that intimate relationship. Your sexuality, your sexual self lives inside of you. And so this time of breakup is a time of transformation, of change, of integration, and I would like it for you to be a time of deeper understanding of who you are as a sexual being. This is especially important because along with the breakup comes pain. And when we are in pain, we're often driven to act on that pain. And one of the things that people who are in recovery of a relationship ending are at risk of is acting out their pain via sex. So it may be that sex becomes a way to numb or escape the pain of grief. It may be that sex is a way of seeking validation that used to come through the intimate partnership, or validation that comes because the relationship was very unhappy and you felt unseen and devalued in that relationship. It may be that you're craving sex by way of as a way of getting back at your former partner. So you knowing that your sexuality lives inside of you gives you a bit of space to pause and wonder about what is this yearning I have to be sexual. It's not about good, bad, right, wrong choices per se. It's about mindful choices. It's about you being in charge of when and how and why you're expressing your sexuality versus it being a reactive, impulsive choice you're making because you're hurting. For some people, post-breakup, they are craving some sex that is no strings attached sex. And here again, it's not about right or wrong, but it is about being mindfully aware of why you're choosing to have sex without strings attached. And having that time to pause and reflect on that desire helps you then make the conditions for self-aware, casual sex versus kind of a reactive hookup. And knowing that your sexuality lives inside of you and is yours to determine where and when and how it gets enacted also gives you then the chance to talk with a potential no strings attached partner about how you're coming into that space with them, what you're hoping for, what you're looking for, what you're available for and not available for. But it starts with you, right? Because you cannot give somebody else something that you don't have within yourself. So your clarity, your sexual self-awareness about where am I right now in the throes of this breakup and what am I wanting and needing and where are my boundaries, then gives you the opportunity to articulate them to a potential intimate partner, whether there's strings attached or no strings attached. And that's the other thing, is that there are no shoulds and no shouldn'ts. This is sort of, as the saying goes, this is a you do you, but you do you ethically. First sexual experiences post-breakup can be a bit complicated. You might feel embarrassed getting naked with a new person. You might feel self-conscious, afraid of being judged by a new partner. And you might be flooded with images or comparisons of your new lover and your former partner. So I encourage you to have those first early post-breakup sexual experiences be guided by two things: mindfulness and patience. So mindfulness is about returning your attention to the present moment and dropping judgment. When you can do that, you do this beautiful thing of, rather than feeling, I'm self-conscious, I'm afraid of being judged, mindfulness allows you to do this instead. Aha, I'm having that thought of being afraid of being judged. I'm having that thought of feeling comparison to my former partner. And that little bit of space between you and the thought, and then the feelings, of course, that accompany the thought, that little bit of space then gives you the opportunity to practice mindfulness and return your attention to the present moment. And I hope that the present moment is one that is full of things to feel good about, excited about, interested in, and curious about, because it's a sexual moment, right? So bringing your attention back to the present moment will help you then drop the story, shift out of embarrassment, and back to just openness to the moment before you. The other thing, in addition to mindfulness, would be patience. So remembering that your first sexual experience after a breakup isn't your forever sexual experience after a breakup, that you are still in a process of healing. And you don't know going into that first sexual experience how it's going to be for you. So if you infuse that first experience with lots and lots of self-compassion, then you know that you're going to love yourself and be on your team regardless of how that first experience goes. And I hope that you are choosing a partner who is trustworthy, so that then if you find yourself being flooded, you can say, let's pause, I need to slow down, I need to take a moment, so that you can make sure that you're keeping yourself safe and that you have a partner who's willing to be understanding. Whether you are the person who initiated the breakup of your relationship or whether you are on the receiving end of that breakup, it's very likely that you are moving through grief. And grief and sex have a rather complicated relationship. And I think that some people can have a belief that if I'm grieving, I can't be sexual. And this is sort of not a hard and fast rule, but certainly what grief may give us the urge to do is have sex in order to escape the pain of grief. And that takes us back to what we were saying earlier about bypassing pain or being impulsive and using sex as a way of getting out of pain. But it also is the case that grief is the kind of crack you open experience that can create a deep sense of aliveness and presence to your life. And from that space of grief that is awakening and enlivening, sexual expression may feel like the really natural extension. So just be aware, if you have that paradigm in your mind that grief and sex can't coexist, what I would say is the relationship is complicated, but it certainly isn't an either or. I talked before about a breakup being a time of pain and possibility. Another way this plays out is that an intimate relationship is a container. It's a structure. And now you are a person who's living outside of that structure. So there are freedoms that were not afforded to you before when you were in the context of the intimate partnership. And I'm not saying anything about what you do with those freedoms, but I'm inviting you to stay open to what bubbles up inside of you. What are you noticing yourself yearning? What are you noticing yourself craving? What are you noticing yourself being curious about? So staying open to those freedoms. It might be overwhelming what's coming up for you, but you can feel those feelings and notice what's coming up if you remember that noticing and acting are very different things. If you're finding yourself wanting to be sexual, notice what it is that you are wanting from sex. This maybe seems obvious, but I want you to unpack it a bit. Notice what it is that you're wanting from sex. Are you wanting touch? Are you wanting surrender? Are you wanting connection? Are you wanting validation? Notice what you're wanting from sex, because I guarantee you that there is more than one way of meeting that need. And you may still want to meet that need from sex, but knowing that there are multiple pathways to meeting that need will shift you from feeling needy and desperate to feeling empowered and in charge. And it's really important in those early days, weeks, months post-breakup to feel like you have agency and some autonomy and some control over your life. So if you're craving a need for connection, what other ways can you create connection? This is especially important if a sexual partner isn't available for you. You don't have to wait around. There are potentially multiple ways to meet that need. One very real need that we have, that we attempt to get through sex, is the need to touch and be touched. We are mammals, which means that some of us are at risk of experiencing something very real, very normal, very human, called skin hunger. Sometimes people in intimate relationships still have skin hunger, but certainly people who are living in a time between relationships may also be experiencing skin hunger. So what I want you to keep in mind about skin hunger is there's more than one way to meet that need to touch and be touched. You can bring other things into your life: dance, massage, cozy clothes, swimming, hot baths, snuggling, petting a pet. So there are multiple ways to experience the soothing and the sort of biochemistry of touch. Sex isn't the only avenue for that. And here again, remembering that can help you feel empowered. Finally, as part of your erotic reclamation, I invite you to take a little bit of time to reflect on your relationship with masturbation. Maybe this is totally taboo and has no bearing on your life, but I invite you to consider the place that masturbation has had in your life, because it potentially is shifting. When you're in an intimate partnership, there is some relationship between solo sex and couple sex. And the relationship might be that there is no solo sex because all of the sex that happens in the context of partnered sex. It may be that solo sex is a secret and a threat to the intimate partnership. It may be that solo sex is sort of a necessary situation and something that one partner may use in a couple situation in order to resolve desire discrepancy. So think about the place that masturbation had while you were in your intimate partnership, and then invite into your awareness the idea that masturbation may have a different place in your life now that you are post-breakup and you're in that time between relationships. Might masturbation be a way to resolve skin hunger? Might it be a way for you to connect back to yourself? Might it be a way of you engaging your sexuality in a way that you then feel less desperate for partnership because you know that there's a way in which you can take care of that need yourself? The bottom line is that there are no rights, no wrongs, just an invitation for you to explore and to know that that is just a piece of who you are as a sexual being, and understanding the place that it has in your life as a part of your sexual self-awareness. There you have it, brave love warrior. Your sexuality exists as a vital part of who you are, a part that is shaped by your relationship status, but not determined by your relationship status. For more on all of this, I invite you to check out my book, Taking Sexy Back: How to Own Your Sexuality and Create the Relationships You Want. If you sign up for my newsletter at dralexandrasolomon.com, you'll receive a free excerpt from the book. And I am an unapologetic love nerd, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to help you get the love you want.